Cutter's Degrassi Unpopular Opinions. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Degrassi Unpopular Opinion / Hot Take. And you can probably figure that this would be one and the same. In this one, I talk about the school board's role in season 4 with the Raditch situation and with the Rick Murray situation. Now, of course, in season 4, the first few episodes of season 4 didn't have Rick in it. So we're thinking, well, Rick left for good. However, in Mercy Street, we find out that he's there talking to Raditch and all that. And of course, Paige and her clique are upset for everything. And they tell Emma to be careful of Rick. Basically, Emma says that we should go to the administration. Marco and Alex, who were named student president and vice president, do the same thing. So basically, in the deleted scene, Raditch basically is talked to by Marco and Alex saying that this is a terrible idea, not to be good, but basically Raditch says, I can't talk about Terry and all that because she's not a student at the school. And then Marco and Alex basically said that this is not about GPA and all that. This is about a human being who abuses women and all that. But Raditch says that all I know is that there have been no criminal charges pressed against him, and everyone deserves a second chance. And he basically said that if a student doesn't have a criminal record, he or she must study my school. Simple as that. I think Raditch basically was clearly trying to tell them that basically his hands were tied. And of course, you know, there were no criminal charges pressed on Rick. And obviously, Raditch isn't going to tell the students this because they'll go to the police and basically go after Rick and all that. Which makes me weird. It's like, why didn't Marco and Alex basically say that to the whole student body and all that? But then, of course, you know, the role of the school board. That's what I'm talking about. Well, flash forward to Bark at the Moon when Raditch basically tells Marco and Manny that he's out the door as principal. He's been reassigned. And then he has a send-off and all that. Which he's happy in a sense. But, you know, you can tell that he's just generally upset and all that. He got reassigned. And I talk a lot about Raditch in, like, both the Unpopular Opinions playlist and the Degrassiisms playlist that I always do. So the problem you get is the school board's role in this whole Rick Murray situation. Did the school board basically let Raditch down themselves? And were they hiding something? To me, it's a yes. Now, here's the thing. The school board was responsible for telling Raditch that, you know, if Rick Murray was a danger and all that, they probably told him, don't let him go to Degrassi and all that. Because of all the animosity and all that. They could have just said to Raditch, I don't think you should keep this guy in the school. But the problem is going to be that, will they say that to all the Toronto schools? Or would they basically just say it to Degrassi? Because would Rick go to Lakehurst? Or would Rick have to be homeschooled, basically? But again, you know, Rick mentions he has to go do counseling with Solveig every so often and all that. And people didn't believe him. I think he went to counseling and all that. But basically, you know, Raditch kind of seemed a little perturbed and all that. But he also, like, you know, the school board told him all these things and all that. In season 4, like the first episode, we hear a background conversation between Raditch and Armstrong that Armstrong needs supplies. And Raditch says, I don't have the money for it. I'm working on it, though. I have teachers who need help, too. Basically, it's like they don't have the funding. Was it just basically because Degrassi was too full of drama, or just basically there was cutbacks across the board? Well, anyway, yeah, the school board could have been the last thing in saying that Raditch should not have done that. But they could have also said, hey, if this guy's a danger, yet he doesn't have a criminal record, you should put him in counseling and all that. Force him to go to counseling, because if he goes to counseling and all that, he becomes a better person, all that. Now, Rick should have invited maybe Paige or Emma to counseling with him and then see his progress and all that. I think they would have seen, and seeing is believing. But I don't. Yeah, if Rick was really getting counseling, why didn't he ask somebody to go to counseling with him and see if he changed, see their opinion? But this is about the school board. So of course the school board reassigns Raditch. They don't fire him; they reassign him. And it gets me thinking. It's like he does all this. Now, I know, granted, in 2004 that policies were a whole lot different, and Raditch probably could not get fired as easily then as 15 years later. But you got to also realize something. The fact of the matter with Raditch is that, he got reassigned. Perpetually, he should have been fired. But did the school board reassign him to keep him on? Now, of course, it would be a fireable offense and basically strip Raditch of his teaching powers. But I'm thinking that the school board had other stuff behind the scenes that they had to keep their eyes on. Yes, they investigated Raditch. Yes, they probably had people testify on his behalf or for or against him. Like Snake, Emma, and Toby would probably be the three main characters and all that. And, the Murrays, too. But possibly because of the Murrays, they had to think of something. Is it plausible to say, guys, is it plausible to say that Rick's parents may have got a settlement from the school board? Maybe Rick's parents got a settlement and the school board had to pay for the settlement and all that. Is it possible that, the school board basically had to pay a settlement and basically they also offered Raditch's head on a platter? But it doesn't make sense because why would they reassign him? They would have fired him. But there's a reason. Because the school board knew that if they fired Raditch over this, and Raditch finds out that basically the school board probably put him in the firing line because of them having to pay a settlement to the Murrays and all that, if the Murrays got a settlement. Although I would say that they might have got a settlement, but they probably would have got more if they weren't charged with careless firearm usage and all that. It begs the question, is that, if they fired Raditch, like they completely fired Raditch, and he finds out that they basically threw him under the bus, Raditch probably would have sued them and basically put the school board on notice, and basically the school board trustees would have been in deep trouble. Is it plausible to say that Raditch's reassignment was kind of a way of firing him but keeping him on to avoid having to deal with their own issues, and that Raditch probably would have gotten mad at the school board for putting him in front of the train? I know I put a lot of metaphors, but it's plausible. It's complete, utter plausible. I mean, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, it's like, I know you could talk about the policies in 2004 not being like firing them and just reassigning them. But also, like, in the background, like, they may have had to deal with the Rick Murray situation about the bullying, and basically they may have had to pay a settlement to the Murrays, and basically, every school would have been hit hard. The school board gave the zero tolerance policy to Degrassi as punishment, but the question remains, was Degrassi the only school to get the zero tolerance policy, or was it board wide? Because it's hard to say. Were they punishing Degrassi, or were they going to punish every school? And of course, the zero tolerance policy was not completely used to its advantage and all that. You got to think about it. And I think that the school board basically was trying to save their own butts and all that, and knew that if they had fired Raditch probably would have been so pissed off he would have sued them. But of course, as we all know, we didn't know about Raditch in the background, like after his ceremony and all that. My theory is that basically he just couldn't handle the punishment, and he actually moved to California to do chop cut rebuilds. That's all I got. So, like, yeah. So, personally, it's like, did the school board put Raj under a train but then reassigned him instead of fired him because they figured that Raj would have probably sued them? It's plausible. Think about it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day.